Get rich fast with csgofast.com.
We're out here in Atlanta at the Turner Studios. I'm here with the old school. I think I'm the new school because this guy's been doing it since before I took my baby steps. So I'm going to jump right into the questions.
Sure.
For a long time, you've been giving hints, intonations that you had a new job in the works, a new life in the works, and you know people saw that you were in the U.S. for a while. Tell me about how this came to be, and tell me about how, how you feel about it.
So if people remember, there was a big meeting where Turner had invited all of the team owners and other potential broadcasters and partners and indeed Valve to a meeting to discuss the possibility of setting up this league that was going to be televised. And I was invited on the premise for, well, two things. One was to kind of be a player's advocate, kind of make sure that player interests were being represented, but also as well about the possibility of being a host of the league, perhaps being on air. And I sat there and I watched, and you know, I listened to the discussions. I chimed in a few times. I think I made a bit of a nuisance of myself, as I'm prone to do. You know, just raised a few concerns and said we're going to need a few things to be in place if it's actually going to be successful and deliver everything that we want a league of this size to deliver. And I think at first everyone was like, well, who's this guy? And then I got talking to them and I explained why I had these concerns. And then they were like, oh, okay, this guy actually, you know, makes sense, right? So I kept the dialogue going, and they came to me and they asked if I wanted to come on board to Turner full time, not just to host the league, but to work on content and making sure the product's right and just having some input on the show. And it's just been great. Obviously, I've been a journalist for a long, long time. I've been doing what you've done for a long, long time. And yeah, I think we all need a change at various points in our career. You know, I'm getting old now. I got grey hair and a beard. So yeah, I just wanted to take a fantastic opportunity, which it is. Not everybody gets to work for one of the biggest TV stations in the world. And yeah, I'd have been crazy to turn this down. So even though it is a departure from what I made my name doing, I'm super happy to be here, and I'm sure I'm going to love every second.
What's your official job title here?
I believe we settled on contributing editor, which I like the sound of that. But no, I think at the moment, while we're still getting an understanding of the broadcast and how it's all going to work, obviously I kind of get brought into different projects and asked different things. And principally, people will see me as the host. I'm definitely going to still be doing that, but I think in the future as well, I think I perhaps even move off camera eventually. We get someone better looking and, you know, better, younger, more youthful to be the face of this. So who knows? Maybe not. I don't know. But certainly, I'm going to be continuing to do the host. That'll be the principal duties that everybody sees. But there's a website. There'll be content on the website. We're going to do some documentaries and some other cool stuff that I can't say too much about, and I'm going to be involved directly in that as well.
So I don't want to, you know, oil you up and kind of commend you in a way, but
I'll take a drink.
You leaving the journalism thing will leave a void, because on one hand you have journalists who just, you know, report more of the facts, and then on the other hand you have journalists who might be tied to certain organizations with agendas. What do you think about the future of journalism that, let's just call it, yeah, just like, what's it called, civic journalism? Yeah.
Well, look, I think if you look in the esports space, I think what's really interesting is I don't feel that bad. I think it's a good time to get out. I think we got a good crop of young journalists coming up. We got people out there who aren't afraid to break stories, even if the details are a little bit fuzzy, and they take that risk. And I think that's to be commended, not to be condemned. Obviously, if you put erroneous facts into the public domain and you don't correct them, you're a bad journalist. You're awful. You get out the trade. But I think when you get information and you weigh up trusting your sources and having to get it out there in a time-sensitive fashion and making sure that it's a public interest and the public know, I think people that take that risk and gamble and put their reputations on the line, I think it's brave. And I think we've got more journalists in esports doing that now than we ever had. There was like 3 names back when I started doing it, and I was one of them. And now there's countless people. And the other good thing that's happening is mainstream publications are coming in, and I don't just mean the type that in the past, like the BBC, for example, that have completely lambasted competitive gaming and made gamers out to be pariahs and deranged lunatics and all manner of nonsense. We've actually got mainstream sports broadcasters, ESPN, Bleacher Report. We've got you know, mainstream press. We had local press here from Atlanta. We've got the Associated Press. We've got Forbes. You know, all of
NPR.
Yeah, right. All of these people that are coming here now, and they are starting to report on this correctly. and they'll break big stories in this space. They'll network, they'll get talking to people, and it'll come out, and it'll come out from a very authoritative voice. So I think it's actually, while I'm proud of the work I've done, I'm proud of the contribution I made to esports journalism. I don't feel that the void that I leave can't be filled. I don't have that level of ego about it, and I think we'll be fine. I think people will continue on the path we've been going now.
Actually, it's funny you talk about BBC. Do you see the New York Post thing about the E-League today?
Oh, it's been an incredibly long day. I did hear something, but I honestly haven't had time to read it. So if you give me the Cliff Notes, what was it?
I think it was okay. I think it did an all right job, but the headline was "Geeks play, computer game." Do you think that kind of stuff is gonna it's destined to show up? A few more reports like that.
It's outdated thinking. It's outmoded thinking. These are people that clearly don't understand what it is. I'd urge anybody who wants to print a headline like that, come down to the studio. We'll introduce you to the players. You can talk to them. You tell me if you think these people are geeks. These are not people that are nerds or antisocial people. They're going to be on international TV. They're going to be on a TV station that's going to be broadcast in 80 different countries. Syndicated programming. So the idea that these people, dead nervous on camera, of course not. It's absurd. So I think those people, they want to reach out to their endemic readers, and they're trying to attract new readers, and I think they're just doing a disservice to the new generation. That's why we reject the traditional media so much. But as I said, they can come down, they can meet these people. I'm sure they'll write something very different once they do.
Yeah, come down here, but don't try to approach this guy too aggressively.
We had to get that one in, of course, yeah.
I actually just thought of it, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good, it's good. Honestly, the press, we welcome as much coverage on this as possible, and I hope if E-League does achieve one thing on a serious note, I think it will change a lot of people's minds. I think it will actually be that new gold standard where people can say, I used to think it was like this, I didn't understand it, I didn't understand what my kid was talking about, but now I get it, now I see the appeal. So that's what we're looking to do.
I saw a pattern during the press conference in the way some people were talking about it, that it seems like you guys really are going to hammer home the focus on the players' lifestyles and the sacrifices they made, even not to the expense, but even maybe to not even focusing on gameplay sometimes, just to get people drawn in. Is that true?
It's like I said in the general press conference. What we're going to do is, if you're an aficionado of Counter-Strike, you're going to love what we've got. We're going to put out new types of stats, unparalleled level of production. We're going to have awesome replays, not just the usual bump that you've seen before. This is going to be a traditional sports broadcast with all of the tools and all of the working parts. So if you love the game, you're going to find an unparalleled level of depth when you watch the broadcast. However, what we also want to do, and this isn't just because we feel we need to do it for esports, this is what Turner Sports does. We tell the story about all the collegiate basketball players during March Madness. We've done it across every sport that we've touched because we want to tell the story, and so the viewers at home can find a connection. The action might not always be appealing, but if you can find that human element about the athlete, you can always connect to the sport through that. And we think that's very important to grow it with casual viewers and people that are looking to come in and start to follow the game. So it's going to be a two-pronged approach. They're not mutually exclusive. Nothing's going to be sacrificed.
Actually, you mentioned basketball. I know the NBA playoffs are now, but do you think Shaq's going to come by at some point for the broadcast in one of the weeks?
I can, without revealing too much, I can tell you Shaq is very interested in what we're doing. We've had talks with other basketball players as well, and I think you're going to see a few surprise cameos over the course of the season. And it's not going to be done in a forced way either. These guys are legitimately interested. I can tell you, I've been in the offices, I've been working here. Everybody at Turner is super excited to see what this does, to see how it is. And we've had lots of the talent from other sports broadcasts putting their head around the corner and seeing what we're doing here. In fact, just to put it in perspective, one of the chaps that's going to be producing the show, he worked on Inside the NBA for 15 years. This isn't just we're giving us the people that are left over with nothing to do. We're putting some of our best people on this project. So I'm sure you'll see Shaq again. I'm sure you'll see some other familiar faces as well.
So another question that came to mind was, there's a part of your brain, it's desolate, it's called CGS memories, and I know you want them to go away, but how do you think you really tried to hammer home when this was all forming, the idea to avoid all that? First, the cheesiness, yep. Second, the financial ruin, everything basically.
Yeah. Look, I think there's a few fundamental elements to remember about CGS before people talk about CGS 2.0. First thing was, I mean, just the grotesque financial mismanagement that went with that project. You had a 5-year plan, you had 60 million, you cashed all your chips in 2.5 years, and you did that by overpaying people that ultimately didn't deserve it in a lot of cases because they felt they had to buy authenticity. There was projects that just didn't need to happen. There was money spent in ways that didn't need to happen. Ridiculous vanity projects and all sorts of nonsense. And as somebody who was there on the ground reporting at that time, you know, I remember thinking to myself, even the amount they're paying me is too much for what I'm doing. So you had this grotesque financial mismanagement going on. I think on top of that as well, they just didn't respect the game. I mean, you know, you're broadcasting Counter-Strike in third person. Like, what is this? Yeah. What is this? And you're doing that based on a focus group that turned out to be one person's wife. That's how much respect they had for the game when they came in. So let's not pretend that it's anything like this, because when Turner came in, they said to us, you are going to run the show. You tell us how the show is going to look. And we've had input on all levels. And I'm not just talking about me as a Turner employee now. I'm talking about all the other guys on the broadcast. I'm talking about our observer team. You can see Heather over there. You know, we got DJ as well. All of these people. You know, imagine being you're an observer of Counter-Strike and you are telling a TV producer, this is how the game has to look. This is how you have to be. This is where your camera needs to be. This is how the action flows. And they've listened every step of the way. They have not been resistant at all. So that's a key difference. They respect the sport, they respect the space, and they respect the opinions of the people that are going to be pushing their broadcast forward. So it's just been an amazing partnership so far. All
right, let's finish up. Final question.
Cool.
You did talk about, I think you tweeted that one of the Richard Lewis shows was the last, but then there was another one. Yeah, is it going to keep going on?
Okay, so what happened was I had things like Trash Talk, and I had all these other kind of shows that were going on. They're just a little bit too edgy and too kind of wide open because it was a call-in show, and we also talked about current events and topical stuff, and we had to get rid of all that. It wasn't going to work with my role as Turner. You know, if I'm going to be out there, you know, just real talk. I can't just be like, Richard Lewis content doesn't end. That's one of the reasons why I'm hired. We're going to have all ancillary programming that's going to be on the website. And on top of that, they like what I do. And the Richard Lewis podcast, as is now, is going to continue.
Awesome. Well, I'll tune in.
All right, thanks a lot, brother.
Anyway, thanks for your time.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks a lot. Shout out to all the HLTV peeps. Woo!
Yeah.